The Lockdown Board Meetings 2020. Written by Martin Hesketh. Read by Derek Johnston. (25) RLT Uprising. 25th Lockdown Board Meeting, Tuesday, 14th April 2020. In attendance, me, Chair, Spud II, Head of Cat Department, Spencer, Head of Bigger Dog Department, Ada, Head of Smaller Dog Department, Horny Frank, Head of Horny Rabbit Department, Beardy, Head of Not So Horny Rabbit Department. Apologies, none. Call to order 0600 hours. 1. There were sufficient members for a quorum. 2. Minutes of previous meeting approved. 3. Business from last meeting, none. 4. Statement from the Chair. Boris's mate Mr. Rab says we're not at the peak yet, so that's not good. Current figures do not cover care homes, so that's not good either. The CMO stated that the scale of the virus catastrophe unfolding in care homes is dramatically laid bare, so that's really not good. 5. Business updates. 5.1. Horny Frank. Horny Frank stated that the fox types were all over the garden area last night and got into a black bag, and there was rubbish all over the show. Ada stated that the cat flap wouldn't open, so she couldn't get out to secure the garden area. The Chair apologised and said that it was all his fault. He locked the cat flap by mistake and forgot to put the black bag in the bin. Ada stated that the Chair has to be more careful during these stressful times, especially with regard to the fox types and the long tails. It's bad enough having the fox types around the garden area, but the long tails, well, that's a different story, added Ada. They're currently up to no good and in need of some serious controlling. Horny Frank stated that that's going to be tricky. There seems to be more and more of them every week. Ada stated that it's not really tricky, but we do need to think out of the box. The long tails are growing in number, yes. Therefore, slowing that growth is the critical factor in our new potential control strategy. Their rapid growth is affecting our living standards and thus must be halted, added Ada. How? Asked Horny Frank. Not sure yet, Ada replied, but we must try and give them something that they really need, which in turn slows their reproduction. 5.2. Spud. Spud stated that the garden area was quiet yesterday, even though it was a lovely sunny day. Usually the Chair is having a crispy dry time and everyone is happy, but yesterday there was nothing. The Chair stated that he was still having a crispy dry time in the afternoon, but was inside, listening to his favourite group streaming a live gig, and he was happy. That's all well and good, stated Spud, but it's the lack of activity in the garden area during the day that attracts the visitor types at night. Plus, Spencer and Ada are pains in the hole when they're left on their own for too long. Ada was trying to throw the black plastic thing herself and chase after it. It was pathetic to watch, and yet Spencer was watching it. Doubly pathetic. 5.3. Spencer. Spencer stated that he was very sorry at what he said to Ada yesterday after the lockdown board meeting. Ada was absolutely right for giving him what for after saying what he did. It's just that he was so angry he couldn't help himself, added Spencer. Ada stated that Spencer was bang out of order and that she had enough to worry about with the long tails in the railway verge area, and he needed to control himself and not let his wee tail waggle his big mouth. 5.4. Ada. Ada stated that she had another brush pass with Karen the sheep. She was indeed in Uptown, acting as a babysitter for a couple of high-ranking longtails. Did Karen the sheep know anything about the attack in the garden area last night? Asked Horny Frank. Ada stated that Karen the sheep had no idea, but she did say it was probably not longtails. The longtails she was babysitting were two walk-ins who had to be delivered back to the farm. Ada added that the two longtails were part of a dissident group, calling themselves the RLT. From the intel Ada received from Karen the sheep, the RLT have been running contraband up and down the railway verge area in underground tunnels to other garden areas and Uptown. What does RLT stand for? Asked Beardy.
The real long tails, replied Ada.
5.5 Beardy. Beardy wanted to know how many long tails are in the RLT and what do they want?
No idea of numbers yet, but probably small, replied Ada. They want all animal types out of the railway verge area so they can continue their trafficking without interference.
So what's happening with Ben the Longtail? Asked Beardy.
Ada stated that they weren't sure which side of the fence Ben the Longtail is sitting on at the moment, but they do know that they are now combating the Longtails on two fronts. Not to forget the foxy types, Ada added. They're in on it too in some way, so let's not encourage them.
6. Other business, none.